I was born in Colorado Springs, in Colorado, 1981. Hard out there, made it out there till I was like 4 months old. Then my parents brought me into Stillwater, where we lived in this little house down by downtown Stillwater. And then from there we ended up going to Texas, where I almost got kidnapped. My sister got hit by a fucking car. You know, and I lived in Texas until I was 5. I went to a McGruff house. You know, then they were like we were living on pennies. You know, we had a little Volkswagen Rabbit. We were driving around, and then so they were time to go. Then we went up to I lived in Wisconsin after that, and then lived in these little apartments. Home life then was cool, man. I was a kid, you know, watching DuckTales and doing the kid stuff, you know. We didn't have much. I wore all my brother's clothes and he wore all of somebody else's clothes, you know. So everything was just recycled. We had a lot of fun. My brother's a creative dude, but it was good, man. We had a good time. Growing up, my brother got me into Metallica, you know, Pink Floyd. My parents listened to Christian music. You know, we'd always go down and turn on our radios and stuff, and my brother would be jamming out to some stuff or something, and I'd get hooked on that. It wasn't till I was in about junior high that I started getting into some other shit, Young MC, Warren G type shit, you know, that sort of stuff. But my brother kept me into the rock side of music, so I always, you know, I still listen to Pink Floyd, and, you know, I listen to The Doors all my life, and, you know, a lot of Black Sabbath, Metallica, Aerosmith, all those guys, so. And Young MC, my parents were, you know, he had that joint, you know, back to the principal's office I go, you know, I was in 6th grade and some dude did it on, for the talent show. He did that song and I was like, man, that's a cool song, man, because I'm always in the principal's office, you know. So he did that and instantly I was like, cool, you know, and then what was it, about 9th grade, I mean, I had a buddy that was just, you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen to this, that, you know. Wu-Tang was super huge. But I got caught. I went to this private school and I went over to the shop coat, and I got caught stealing the Bone Thugs album, East 99. And got caught and I had to go to the jail, call my parents, do all that. And I think that was a part of my life that I was like, yeah, this just, you know, like I'd put that shit on, you know, get ready for my school day, get all flied out and fucking, you know, like lip syncing in the mirror, you know, how am I looking, you know, doing all that. So I think that's the time where I started being like, yeah, I think I like rap music instead of, you know, or a little bit more than rock and stuff, you know. Man, my brother's just a wild dude. I was always getting my ass kicked, and but he was so creative in everything he did. Like, you know, I learned how to play G.I. Joes from that dude, all the noises that the guns make from that dude, you know, and so that's where, like, kind of, you know, imagination and all that stuff comes out. And, you know, once I got into school, you know, I hated English class. He put me into a creative writing class and I'll murder it, you know. I was doing, you know, I remember being in the elementary school and writing straight up short stories, just like 6 pages long on a little notepad about some popsicle stick, somebody buried in the backyard, and all of a sudden there's a golden tree with golden this and that. I was just, you know, going off the head and making stuff up that sounded cool in my head, you know. And, you know, every single time You know, I suck at spelling. Ask me to spell something, I can't spell shit. You know, the grammar when I'm, you know, sending somebody an email, I constantly get yelled at for the way I'm writing the email. But you ask me to put on paper, you know, what the atmosphere was like, or what you were wearing, what your feelings were, and how the whole night came together, and I get into that type of stuff. So that, I think my imagination and you know, getting my ass whipped a lot kind of brought me from kind of mellowed me out in a strange way, to where I could tap into my brain, but then also take an ass whooping. I don't even know if that makes sense. Student, I was the class clown, man. If you were in my class, you were getting wedgied, you know, not like, you know, underwear pulling wedgie, but we'd make those paper wedgies, rubber bands, you know. I was a class clown. I always showed respect to the teacher, but then, you know, anything that they teach, I'd kind of override it and say something smart, and everybody'd laugh, and then, you know, I'd go overboard with it. But, you know, I was like C's and B's when I tried, you know. College, I was getting A's and B's. But I mean, that was art school, so. Ditching class, man. Ditching class. I was in preschool, and this dude came over, he's like, yo, you want some bubble gum, man? And I was cool with that, you know, but I like the sugar-free, you know. No, I'm just kidding. 7th grade, I ditched class. I remember it well. I ditched class in 7th grade. There was a group of us, and we ditched class because this dude in my school and this chick had planned to have sex, and we were gonna go to their house. It was this kid owned a bed and breakfast. His parents owned a bed and breakfast in Stillwater, like 3 blocks from the school. So we all run over there. You know, we run out of the back of the school, run over there, and next thing you know, everybody's dipping into wine, and people are smoking weed, and these two are in the spare house, and everybody's like, man, they're gonna do it. So everybody's trying to peek through the window, you know, they want to be a part of somebody losing their virginity or something like that. But while they were doing that, we found a shotgun upstairs, and so we went out on the roof, and some kid was shooting at a squirrel at a distance, and this is downtown Stillwater almost. So the police were notified. We all got caught. The next day I go to school, and the principal pulls me in. He's like, listen, man, I know you guys skipped school. I know you guys were shooting guns. I know there was drinking and smoking weed. Well, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke weed. So he was pretty good, which is funny because he gave me community service, where we had to run around and pick up garbage. All we did was go to the garbage can and fill up our bag with the garbage in the garbage can, because we didn't want to run around and pick up garbage. But that's where I actually smoked my first little deal of weed. Somebody gave me one of them little oneies, you know, the little one bat. We went into this porta potty. I smoked like 3 of them. And, you know, I didn't feel it at first, and then I smoked like 3 of them. I come out, and I was just stupid. We went over to the cemetery. I couldn't climb the fence. I got on the late bus. Everybody's just looking at me, and I was clowning. I couldn't stop laughing. My cheeks were all red. I got home. My parents didn't say nothing until like 6-7 years later. They knew that I was high. Man, it was crazy. So it was funny that I didn't do anything while we ditched school. But when I got in trouble for ditching school, then I did some shit. In 6th grade, we went around stealing hood ornaments in broad daylight in my neighborhood. And I mean, we were going with the gold caddies. We had to get these gold caddies, and 'cause people were putting them on chains and wearing them around in the junior high school. But we were in 6th grade, so we were in the grade school. But so we're in these, you know, I'm going into these garages and just straight up, you know, yanking these things out with the wire snippers, and these old people run out, or this old guy walks out, and I just stood there, and, you know, I was like, "Hi, how you doing?" He said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I was like, "Nothing. I was just," and I just walked out. I just walked out after he said that. Next thing you know, my parents are called. You know, we get home, we got a whole pocket full of hood ornaments. So we got my mom comes out. She goes, "What's going on?" We throw them all behind the wood pile. She goes, "Yeah, what are you doing stealing hood ornaments?" I said, "What are you talking about?" Couldn't lie to my parents. So they knew everything. Somebody called that went to their church that seen me, you know, 3 o'clock in the afternoon stealing hood ornaments in my neighborhood, like nothing's crazy. But we used to do fucking crazy shit. I was the littlest dude. I always hung out with my brother and his friends. They'd get me to, I'd be breaking into these little, these parks, those little buildings that they got that you know, that keep up the parks. They'd shove me through the windows. Man, it was nuts, man. I mean, car shop, it was just crazy. I stole a brand new Jeep Cherokee and drove that out to Delwood Hills. Couldn't even drive a stick shift. The transmission dropped out of the fucker before I even got it home. We had to leave it up on a road, me and my buddy Clint. The same night I stole a minivan, but then I brought it back to the person's house and I parked it nicely at their house. So shit was crazy. Shit was crazy when I was growing up. Believe it or not, man, I was a super good kid when I was all growing up through junior high. I was like, I still had my you know, people are doing this and that and getting shit faced, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if you know, I was in football, wrestling, traveling baseball. I skipped the traveling baseball sooner or later. I was too small to play football, and then kept with the wrestling. I placed 5th in state twice for freestyle when I was 13, 14 years old. And then when I was 15 and 16, I placed 6th in the nation for Greco-Roman. So, I mean, my brother's a wrestler, my dad, you know, they all do that stuff. But sooner or later, you know, trouble caught up. I was like 14 years old and working on a golf course.
Okay.
No, I was mowing lawns. I was working on a golf course. It was the coolest job I ever had. I was young, I was smoking weed and cutting grass on a machine. I didn't have to walk, it was lazy. It was, you know, I had to wake up early in the morning, you know. I had a pretty cool boss, man. Like, I'd go there, I went there one time on acid. No, man, it was crazy, so. First job was cool. Man, working's alright, you know. It wasn't until later in life that I discovered, like, really working, you know, like having that job. I mean, like, I didn't work normally, you know, like most kids were, you know, at the gas station or cooking at some restaurant or doing something like that. I was dealing with the system, basically, and my parents found out I smoked weed, and they were told that I was on drugs, and so they freaked out and sent me to this place called Harbor Shelter, where they locked me down, this and that, and made me say I was like an addict and go to treatment right out of there. So that yanked me out of any trying to get a job was obsolete, because I'd be home for a couple of weeks and then something would happen and I'd go back into some boys' home or a detention center, and you know, so if I got to do something over, I probably would have stayed in sports. I probably would have stayed in sports a little bit longer than I did. Inspires me to do good is feeling the rewards of my previous good deed, basically. If you try to do good, you know, I almost didn't graduate high school, which was cool that I did. And for all that time, all I wanted to do was bad, because everybody was telling me I was bad. And so, all I wanted to do was, you know, was be the baddest dude you know, just the most, you know, scandalous, you know, who can come up with, who can live life more fucked up and make it, you know. That was my goal, was to make it, but be also super fucked up. Now it's like, you know, man, I'm 30. I just turned 30, and I'm looking, and my little cousins are coming up, you know, and they none of them. My one is doing like, he's some 4-wheel dude, and he's 40 feet in the air, Supermaning over his 4-wheeler, you know, and that's because he didn't cause any of the trouble that I did when I was growing up. If I would have stayed in sports, or, you know, maybe if I would have, you know, snowboarded, stayed with snowboarding, or, you know, something else, that would be different. But now the good shit that I do, I feel the rewards, because there's nobody else out there to give me anything. You know, I need to have reliable people, honest people around me, and humble people around me. In order to get all of that stuff, you need somebody that's, you know, and, you know, people that are, you know, have understanding of the way that life goes down. And in order to get all of that stuff wrapped up in somebody, you need to, you know, basically, they've been through some shit. If they can understand the majority of life and the way that life really works, you know. You got people out there that are just in la la land, you know, it's butterflies and rainbows, you know, and they don't know, you know, I mean, they're good people, you know, but they don't really know what else is out there, and they're going to be blindsided sooner or later. Maybe they won't, you know, maybe life will continue to be good for them, and ignorance is bliss and all that shit. But in order to really know how you're living and who you are, you have to experience a lot of hurt, a lot of letdowns, and, you know, you don't learn to not steal from somebody unless you've gotten stolen from pretty significantly, and you don't, you know, I mean, all of that stuff goes all into one. So that's why I say, you know, quality's a messed up person. My goals, man, is to succeed in life, is a whole, and to not let, I love music to death, and I love what I do for a living. Right now I'm a carpenter, which, you know, I like building shit. I went to art school. Building stuff is like art to me. You gotta design it, you gotta understand the way something works, and you go at it. My music is the same thing. You're always building on it. You're always building something. When you make a beat, you build it. You build the beat up. My goals right now is to produce good music that's not phony. That's not, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, I didn't come out of downtown Minneapolis, and, you know, I didn't have crackheads for parents, and I didn't have, you know, the only person that beat me was my brother, you know. So I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm trying to make music that pertains to where I've been and how I am, and it needs to be funky so people feel this stuff. And with the producers that I'm hooked up with now, you know, I'm able to reach in and grab stuff that I've never had before. I'm getting pushed in different angles from each one of these guys. You know, Needs what up, Lost what up, Who Knows what up. You know, you guys are keeping me going. And, you know, it's a constant deal. You know, everybody. I'm not out here to get rich. I'm not out here to make it super big anytime soon. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's an everyday hustle that you got to be on your music, and you got to have genuine love for it. So I think I am on my goals. It's just when, you know, when it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. You know, when everything's supposed to come together, it will. So you just gotta keep working.
National Videos.